Jay Blea shares how drums became a focus in his life, about becoming a music educator, and his love of all things percussion.
To the podium, Jay. How you doing today?
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I'm glad to be here. You're looking good today.
All right. Yeah, you're looking good, buddy. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us, Jay, how did you start playing your instrument and playing music? Where did it all begin?
I was a freshman in high school, and I was the second semester of the freshman year. I had to switch over from what I had been doing, which was shop, making or being a carpenter, stuff like that. And that thing changed. So they asked me to pick another thing to do. And the thing I picked was band. And so I showed up to the band room and they told me what to get for equipment, a pair of 2B sticks and the easy steps to the band. So, and then we met a few days later in the band room. They were all beginners, but we were up in the grades. We weren't, we hadn't started with the other beginning class. So we get started, and I see the first thing, and it's a whole note. And a whole note for most of the musicians, if they play an instrument, they have to produce the air and all that, blow through it, whatever. They get to hold that note out. And the drum, when I hit the drum, it went boom. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm not doing the same thing they are,
Right.
And I raised my hand, and the band director said, what is it? I said, how come I don't sound like they do? And he said, I'll get back to you. This guy was a trumpet player, and he didn't really care for the drummers. He had a little aversion to him. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, so I went through all that. Finally, I started getting things, and then by chance, the guy he got transferred to another place. Something to do with a bottle of whiskey in his case. We don't talk about that much, but
Yeah.
anyway, so the new guy came in, and this guy was really concerned with getting everybody to play right. And he was from Michigan, and he had all this stuff that they do up there. So that's when the spark hit, man. I thought, I want to do this, because this guy really helped me out. So I started with a practice pad. I got a practice pad and had to practice every day and all that stuff. First things, try to learn to roll, because that was the thing, the whole note. I had to learn to go for the
Right.
whole, and it took forever. I mean, it was like ta 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 ta. There's something called daddy mama you go through. Okay, so
Right.
that went on, and I started getting some more things. My new band director's name was McCourt, Joseph McCourt, really cool guy.
Yeah.
Had a little dolphin car. It was a little car, and he had this huge a dog that was all white, and he called it Carla, and it took up the whole back seat. Anyway,
Yeah.
as it went, Mr. McCourt let me stay after school a lot to practice while he was doing his paperwork, and then he would drive me home on the way to where he lived, which was on the way to my house. And so I got to talk to him all the time. I became sort of like a friend of his.
Right.
And then the other guys in the band that were playing, they heard me practicing, and we started playing what they call combo orcs. They were like little pieces of music that had some swing tunes and march tunes to them.
Right.
And we used to do that after class, because some of the guys stayed there and we did that. So I got really hooked up with that. And then I started doing all kinds of stuff with the band.
Right.
And I finally got to be in the marching band. And that was a lot of fun to go out and march and
So
carry the drum, all that.
let me ask you, after high school and you're getting to be an adult, did you continue playing or?
Well, let me tell you, before I got out of high school, the last thing that happened was in my senior year, I got to make all-state band in New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was because of McCourt's help and a book by Gene Krupa, how to count and stuff. But
I've heard of
I
him.
wasn't great at it, but I got through the audition. And then when we played the concert for the all-state band, there was 5 people in the percussion section,
Uh,
and those the five was one of the 5. The 4 of them had studied with a private teacher in Albuquerque or different parts of the country, like Clovis and places like that.
yeah.
And for at least 4 or 5 years, I was the only guy that had never studied with a percussion guy because there wasn't one.
Right.
So it turns out I felt like maybe I wasn't suited for this. I felt that. But when we started playing and I was the snare drummer, I was really dedicated to that. And they picked me for snare drum on 2 or 3 of the pieces because the
Okay.
other people couldn't play it as well. I didn't have the skill they had for reading, but I could hear the music.
Yeah.
And that's been a good thing for my whole life. I hear it and I play it.
Right. Right.
When I learned to count, I learned to count the music, but then it was important to hear it.
Yeah. Let me. So okay, I'm gonna stay on track here. So then you got an all-state,
Hmm.
and then as a young adult, was there a period of time when you
Well,
stopped?
after Allstate, because
Yeah.
of an award, I got recruited by the New Mexico State University to go to New Mexico State and be part of the music program there.
Okay.
They gave me a scholarship.
Okay, that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
So you studied at New Mexico State,
Yeah,
and that catapulted you further.
yeah. I just did it for 2 years though.
Uh-huh.
The thing that happened was my father's business. He's the one who was financing me, of course,
Right.
and his business went down a little bit because of some kind of thing that happened
Right.
in the community. There was a uranium boom in Grants,
Yeah.
and then it started to fade out all of a sudden.
Right.
So
Right.
his business went down, and we talked about it. So I said, "Well, I'll go to work. I'll
Right.
have to help."
Well,
I've been working with my father since I was like 9 years old. He had businesses all the time.
right. So
So
you went to work. Like I call it, life gets in the way. But you came back to music, and there's been a central theme with other people I've talked to, myself included, where your life gets in the way, but music keeps bringing you back. Talk about how music brought you back.
yeah, okay, so I was at state. I actually got to play with a collegiate jazz band, and I did the concert. I had to play in the symphony orchestra the first time I actually heard a symphony orchestra up close, because
Right.
I'd heard them on recordings, but to hear it live, it was like, wow, what an experience. Anyway, I was doing all that, but on the side, I had been playing in a little band in Grants during the high school days. I had a group,
Uh,
playing rock and roll songs. And when I got to New Mexico State, I was playing jazz music by then. And I was playing jazz music and rock on the side. I would get these
Right.
jobs. Actually, I had money for more things than the other guys did there because I would go play what they call a gig now,
right.
little combos, the jazz groups, swing groups,
Yeah.
rock groups. We made a tour of Alamogordo
Yeah.
and, then, and some other places, and
Right.
that was going on too. Besides the college band, so when I went back home, I started playing with a group again that I'd had in high school, and I got a job to go work in Gallup as a as a guy for a finance company collecting money on the Navajo Indian reservation.
Okay.
That was quite an experience. But in the meantime, I'm jamming with people in town in Gallup.
Right.
There were some good musicians there, and I got to play with some of them. I met this one kid. Actually, a friend of mine introduced us, and he was a genius guitar player at 12 years old. And I used to
Wow.
go jam with him. A
Yeah.
guy that was visiting there that knew him was in a touring band from
Right.
Albuquerque called the Salients. He's a horn player.
Right.
And he came and heard me play, and he started talking to me, and he said, "You know what? Our drummer's going to quit, and we're going to go on. We're supposed to go to California and all that. Would you be
Right.
interested in doing that?" Well, there
Yeah.
goes goodbye to the finance company.
Right.
Yeah, I had made a deal there. They were going to make me a manager of the place after a while, but I told the guy, and he said, "You know, the music business is not the greatest thing in the world." I said, "I
Right.
don't care." No, I mean, I had to do the music.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I left
So,
that and I went to Hollywood, California, and we got everything together there. And then we got an agent. We had an agent there. We
mhm.
played around California some, and then we went to the Midwest, and then we ended up like, the Midwest and Oklahoma, Texas, things like that. And
So
that happened for about 2 years.
you started touring a little bit, and tell us a little bit of the groups and the music that you played on the tour there.
Well, the group that we had it was a well rehearsed group. Uh, we had two main singers. We had saxophone, guitar, and the piano player played the bass, and myself. And we all sang. I
Oh
sang
yeah.
background and stuff like that. But we all sang, and we did shows. They call them, where we would do like a medley of tunes, one tune after the other. We'd
Right.
start this hot rock tune, and then we would go to a medium one without
Yeah.
stopping. We'd just go into it, and then we
Yeah.
would slow it down more, go to a ballad, and then bring it back up to another, and we'd finish with a hot one.
Right.
And we had 2 or 3 shows like that. So we would save that for the end of the evening.
Right.
And that was kind of our audition show, because when we went to these places that we were going to play at,
Yeah.
like for instance, we went to Wichita Falls, Texas, I think, and or Kansas, I can't remember now. But we went there. We would have to. The first night we did our big show, so that they would guarantee us the 2 weeks that they had booked us for, and they might book us for 2 more if they decided we could,
Yeah.
or
Bring in
they
the
need.
people.
So we were always auditioning wherever we went.
Right. Right.
So we had all that, and it was a pretty good band. And of course, people, you're going to hear this from other people, but when you tour with a band, we all had our own cars. I had a station wagon. I had drums in there. I had a wife. I had a kid, a
Wow.
little kid. I had a curb for her.
Yeah.
She was right behind me when, the driving part,
Right. Yeah.
and all the drums and everything were in the back.
Right.
And we would go to a motel. We had to find our own accommodations.
Yeah.
Not like these guys now. They fly there, to a hotel. They do all. We were living out of our cars, man.
Right. Right.
But it
Yeah.
had a hot plate because we had to cook sometimes inside
Yeah.
because the restaurant food was expensive.
Yeah. So
And
let,
yeah.
let me ask you about, let me turn the corner here on your emotional tie to music. I mean, what does it do to you personally and has done for you emotionally when you're playing? And what are you trying to do when you're playing to give to the listener and the audience?
Okay, let me start from this.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in middle school, I was not tall. I'm not tall now, but I was a shorty, and I was skinny. And so I had all the bullies in the place come after me. It was one of those things. Everybody knows about that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything about it because they were so big and they just treated me bad.
Yeah.
But I decided my personality, I always have I've always had a sense of humor, so I would use that and make friends with other big guys. So
Right.
then I had some backup. These guys would say, "Leave him alone, man."
Right.
And then it tells another joke. Okay, you hear the one about.
Yeah.
So I got through all that thing, and also because I played music, it gave me a spot in the band that was above all the other things. You're just in high school and nobody knows you all. I knew everybody, and then they respected me as a musician because I was dedicated to it. And
Right.
I felt this great rush when I would play in front of people. The first time in high school, when I was playing, I was a little nervous. Everybody gets nervous when you're in front of the crowd. And
Right.
that was my initial thing. I looked out in the crowd and there was this person a nice looking young lady, and she was smiling at me. And I thought, hey, it's got to be something good here. So I started going. And ever since then, I've always picked out somebody in the crowd
Right.
and played to them. It's like I'm conversing with them, and they're
Right.
going, "Yeah, you're doing a great job. Yeah,
It's a communication.
yeah." And so that's the emotional thing that happened with me, the connection with people.
Right. Right.
And then music itself gives me even like Mr. Goodwin and I played. I'm gonna say that to the public.
Yeah.
We played together in bands and stuff, and when it comes together, it's like yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a good feeling because we're doing these things. People are smiling. They like music.
Right.
A lot of people have to have it. Me especially.
Right.
I have
You
to
ha-
have a full dosage of it every day.
Yeah. That's a very good point. You have to have it, and also a big part of your life, Jay, has been that you're a music educator, and I want to go in two directions here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you also teach percussion,
yeah.
but not only teaching percussion, talk about teaching percussion and also the instrument itself, the percussion instrument versus,
Okay, I'll give you some. Yeah. Okay, to start with the teaching, it happened by, it's sort of a sidebar thing because I was playing music all the time, performing, and people would ask me, "How do you do that?" And I'd say, "Well, you just, they're paradiddles and 16th notes." They go, "Huh?" And I'd go, "Oh, well, okay." And then I'd say, "Okay, well, hold the sticks," and then hit them. And I go, "No, no, not like that. Put your hands like this," and
right, right,
it became like that. I never had any private lessons, Mark.
yeah,
I only later, way later, after I had already been playing forever,
right,
did I study with one guy, and he was out of Boston, and that really put me ahead. But I couldn't find a percussion teacher. I didn't know where to go.
right,
So I did this on my own. I had learned to read on my own, out of these books. So I like to read books now. I have a whole bunch of books, but the drum books I went through those myself from one end to the other, making sure I got all the stuff.
right,
I put that time in. And the other thing that happened at the same time to get me into education was I met a man up at Hummingbird Camp that owned it, and he asked, well, a friend of mine, Pancho Romero, told me, "You want to go to Hummingbird?" I went with them,
yeah,
and they said, "Well, what do you have to do?" And they said, "Well, these guys here, these kids, you're going to get all the drummers. You're going to be in front of them and tell them what to play."
yeah,
I said, "Okay, no big deal." Oh, yeah, then I had to learn a bunch of stuff.
right,
How to deal with children, how to deal with,
right,
this and that and the other. And at the same time, I was learning how to read all their music.
right,
And that's when I started reading scores. I did that on my own.
yeah,
I had to learn to read the scores. I knew what all the rest of the band was doing, so I could
right,
inform the percussion teachers or kids. And that's where it comes to your question about how we do this and that.
right, right,
The percussion section is a unique thing because, first of all, in the band, you're all close together. The
right,
percussion is in the back row.
yeah. Preach it, brother.
We're the last thing that the conductor looks at.
Right, yeah.
Now, a smart conductor, which I've had a few, will look at the percussion first
Right,
and find out how they can communicate with them.
right.
The rest of the guys would say they know what they're doing. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah.
But what we have is this. We have these instruments that have to blend with all these instruments that have longer notes and softer notes and all that. We can play loud very easily,
Right,
but playing soft is a different thing. That's the thing we got to get together. And then there's phrasing. And then there's this thing, the black flag is rests.
yeah.
The drummer to have 8 rests, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, etc. to 8, 2, 3, 4, and then come in and play.
Right,
That is, oh God! I talked to all the guys about this. We even had a deal in college where we used to go. Our percussion section was pretty hot. We had 4 guys that were on the ball, and we'd flip a coin and we'd let one of the guys count while we could jam and wave at the people and all that.
yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
this guy would have to count the rest for us. We didn't have to deal with that. See, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Right, right.
And that's our deal with between you guys. You know, when we're playing, we have to deal with all the rest, and then the thing. There's another situation with dealing with the concert band stuff. It's like we've got to watch the baton. We got to see, and sometimes there's people that use this baton as sort of a thing that they wave in the air. They're not really on any kind of mark with it. They just figure, well, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I've been with good conductors that I can follow 1, 2, 3, and 4 very easily because of the way they do it. They use their other hand to clue people. And good conductors will clue a director that this cue, this important cue, is coming up. They'll cue you. You know,
Yeah,
I have good ones, man. When I travel and stuff, so
right.
I learned that was really a valuable thing. So you see, percussion is a unique thing.
Right.
And then here's the next part of it. We have to learn so many instruments.
Yeah.
You know, if you go into there and you're going to play the first instruments you see, there's 25 of them.
Right.
You know, everybody thinks drum,
Right.
cymbal, timpani,
Yeah. Yeah.
allophones, you know, all that. But
Right.
there's all these little auxiliary things you have to learn, and how to play them, and where to set them up, and you know, there's all this stuff.
Yeah, I always talk
I'm
about
gonna
that.
say this before you come. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say this. It turns out, because of some things that I've done, I went to Percussion Art Society a few times. I was a member of that, and I used to go to their meetings. They said we took a study of all the different musicians, and it turns out that the people that play percussion are usually the smartest ones. And I don't want, you know, but you have to be able to handle a whole bunch of things at once.
That's true. That's true.
And going back to playing, me as a player, I'm a drum set player, I have to be able to play all 4 limbs,
Right. Right.
not just 1 or 2, 4 limbs. And I have to play all these musical instruments that are in front of me,
Right.
and you know, and do it either with my right or my left hand. To me now in these days, it's not a right or left. I don't know which hand's doing it.
Yeah.
They're both there. They've taken over. They say, "What do you want, Blake?"
Right.
I say,
Right.
"Okay."
They have a mind of its
I
own.
say, "Okay, you got it." You know.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that
all right.
that leads us to, you know, for the listeners that are, and we're here with the Podium podcast with Jay Blea. He's a percussionist here in New Mexico. So if you're just tuning in, but let's talk about, Jay, those listeners that would like to play percussion now, that may be seniors, older players.
Yeah.
When is it too late, if it is too late? And what is it do I need to bring to the table to be a percussion player?
You know what? I have a few people that are older,
Uh,
elderly, whatever.
in your sections, in your private
No,
lessons.
private,
Yeah.
private. I give private lessons at the studio, Mom's
Right.
Music.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get people. It's a desire, and they like it. They like the music, but they've always wanted to play. A lot of times, these people have said, especially the females, have said that I was told not to do that instrument because it's a man's instrument.
Right.
I said, look up Evelyn Glennie, look up
Yeah.
Sheila Escobedo, look
Yeah.
up, some people like that. They're females, and I wouldn't even stand next to them, man, because
Yeah.
look out, they'll take you down. But
Yeah.
it's like they're amazing.
Right.
Anyway, so and then if you're up in years, it doesn't matter if you really desire to do it
Right.
and you get some training for it.
Right.
And here's the deal, people. There's no secrets. You got to play it. Now, percussion, we got this one thing. Our instrument is not a silent one. You can hear it from across the hall or down the street.
But you do have to
And
control it.
if you practice every day on an instrument, a drum, everybody will know you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with a deal with it. So my recommendation is, a lot of guys don't agree with this, but I say use a practice pad or some kind of thing so
Right.
that you can do that kind of, because there's busy practice, there's practice you have to endure, you have to get your endurance and stuff. And playing on a drum over and over and over and over, it's like, it's pretty rough on your ears too.
Right.
I have some of that that's gone,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
a lot of cymbal crashes, mainly guitars though. Anyway, so if you find a thing, if you want to play it and you're up in age and stuff, you're gonna have to play every day if you can.
Right.
And don't go with that formula that everybody says. I practice for a half an hour. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
I don't care who says that. Nobody does
Yeah.
that. It's not smart practice. If you're going to put in time going, not paying attention, don't do it.
Right.
Just 5 minutes of, I know this thing, I'm doing it right now.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You have to practice a lot if you want to do it, whether you're a young kid or an older person.
Right.
You have to get that going. It becomes a routine to you, like people work out and stuff,
Right.
then you're going to get more joy out of it because you can play.
Right. Right.
The other thing that we have to know about percussion or playing any kind of drum and stuff, it's a rhythm instrument.
Right.
You have to have rhythm.
Yeah.
You have to have coordination to do it.
Right.
You can't do it because somebody told you just play this. You've got to have some of that already,
Right. Yeah.
I always have people play this little thing that I've got. But they're playing their hands and their feet, just 1, 2, 3, a simple thing.
Right.
If they can't do that, don't play percussion.
Yeah.
There's need for other instruments,
Right,
but
right. Yeah.
rhythm has to be done by somebody that's coordinated,
Right. Yeah.
because you got to use your limbs, Anyway, that, and, and try to get into a group that has something going on, because the best way to learn all the music is to be in a group.
In it. Right.
Staying at home practicing over and over, and you go through all the books and all that. That's
Right.
wonderful. But if you don't play with somebody, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Like some of these centers now, and what we're doing at our Horizon Band,
Right.
people get together and go over the music and all that stuff.
Right.
If you're going to start that, try to get something going. Like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or even people you play golf with or whatever, or
Right.
whatever you do, bridge, whatever. You can have a group that plays music for their
Right.
get-togethers and stuff.
It can be a quartet, a small ensemble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So,
playing music, that's it.
what type of music do you like, Jay?
I don't have any particular. I love everything.
Uh-huh.
I go through phases with it.
Yeah.
Like every day in the morning, I listen to the classical music.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Right.
Because it has this beauty to it, and I hear all the rhythms they use and
Right.
all this stuff. You know,
Right.
uh, I played in country bands. I have a lot of respect for them now. The real country music,
Right.
man, it's great. It's
Yeah.
really great. It's
Yeah.
a feeling, you know.
Right.
It's not a busy drum thing, but now
Right.
they're doing it like that. But
Yeah.
you know, it's not a, but it's your feeling, your emotion. You know, that's coming back to that, Mark. It's like, you know, if you can feel the music, and you have to learn to play a rhythm and keep the rhythm steady and low down
Right.
and feel it, you know, and that's
Sure.
what, you know, okay, country, I love Latin music. I love it.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. I love rock music. I like it.
Right.
I like funk music. I
Right.
like all the, you know, in other words, and jazz. Oh, I love it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's all these different things that now for the last about the last year or two, I've been listening to mariachi music a lot
Okay. Okay.
because I discovered this thing with it.
You're right.
It was because of Linda Ronstadt. She had this album, and I got it, and I started listening to the rhythms of mariachis play,
Right.
and they were playing 6/8, 3/4,
Yeah.
and they're doing these syncopations with it. It's incredible, man.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's incredible. They're going da 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 da, da, you know, and it's
Right.
like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how did you get that? And then well, anyway, so I've been doing that, but all of this, you know, it's all part of my life. I love all the music, you know.
You know, we can hear the love and the spirit in your voice and your excitement. And it's been great having you and talking. We could go on for another 2 hours, and you know,
Should have never called me.
leave our listeners with something you would tell them that's so important about music before we wrap it up. What would you tell?
Okay. I would love to tell everybody this. Please support music. Please put it on the front burner, not the back one. You know, there's a thing where in the newspaper you see this thing, and it's 3 or 4 pages up. Football, basketball, all this stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But when you see a music thing, it's this small. It's real tiny. This band might have played there or something, you know.
Yeah.
Support music, man. It's good for your heart. It's good for your brain. It keeps you out of trouble. Whatever, you know, you have to maintain discipline to do it.
Right. Right.
And you're bringing joy to the world because there's music. Music is that thing for us.
That's right. That's right.
So promote it, man. You know, just
Yeah.
give us all we can, you know, because we're giving you a lot
That's
for
right.
almost nothing.
Yeah. And on the listener sides, I mean, you have to have the listeners of music that may not play, but they're participating by listening, you know. So, Jay, I want to thank you so much for participating today, man.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Goodman.
God bless you. And also, I want to thank the listeners for downloading and listening to the podcast. You've been listening to The Podium, Jay Blea on the podium today, telling his life and journey about music in his life. And you can find this podcast at your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much for listening to us. And go and have a great day and try to play all the right notes. Thanks, Jay, for coming by.
You're welcome, Mark.
You've been listening to The Podium. If you would like to be a guest on The Podium, email the show at onthe2@gmail.com. That's ONTHEPODIUMTOO @gmail.com.